Hello, my name is Claudia di Matteo and I am an international social worker and I work at this institute, INRCA, and my project is related on developing an Italian strategy about active aging. So it's a project that started in 2019 and that he's developing very slowly. We have a big impact because it is a project that is led also in terms of resources by the government. So it takes time to develop, but we are now in the state of the art. So we almost finished our fieldwork in all the Italian regions. And we are now gathering all the data and try to make up the data in a good way, in a politically correct way, so that we will meet the stakeholders and the regional political level in this summer to present them our results and hoping for a very good feedback. Yeah, the intergenerational perspective is very important in Italy, and because Italy is a familistic welfare state. So for us, family is important, and is within the family that takes place the discourse, the intergenerational discourse. And actually this morning I was talking with my colleague about this intergenerational perspective that somehow we are describing, but we don't know how to look at it, because if we dig really into the field, we know and we understand that young generations are actually lost and neglected, because nowadays the discourse and also the services related are mainly related to the aging society. So, okay, we are presenting this very peaceful intergenerational connection in which the older should transmit the traditions and the culture to the youngers, but in a political perspective, actually we are giving a lot of attention nowadays to empower this old generation and to make them as a resource. But we have the doubt to not keeping together this perspective with with young generations that are coming and that are lost, as I say, then do not receive the same attention. So how to keep these two discourses together? This is a big challenge. In a win-win perspective for older generation and younger generation, I could say that from my fieldwork, I realized that there are places in which the young and the old meet, and they are helpful for each other. For instance, libraries. We have some at regional level some projects in which they developed activities with youngers. So the young people go after school for their homework, and the old people are there to support them in doing these activities. Other kind of interventions that are well developed in the field is related with technology. So how the young generation can help the older to how to use tablets or internet or this kind of exchange of good practices and the use of technology that is supportive. Well, from my perspective and from what I am learning in the fieldwork and in studying this topic, as I said this morning, in Italy the state is very weak. So the central state is very weak. It's not having a role in govern these kind of interventions, and on the other hand, the territory, so the local level, is very active on changing attitudes, but moving really with the civil society and with the associative environment. So really, let's say they are using the social capital that they have in their territory to develop a sort of strategy, but lacking this global national level of governance. So we find spots of activities jeopardized in our national level without a clear strategy and vision. So what I think I can recommend to the national level is to create a policy, so a law that institutionalizes some sort of services, a set of basic services, which are existing. Like, we have those kind of services, but they are not homogeneous on the territory. So create national guidelines, set strategy, rules, and also resources, financial resources. And this can help to develop the territories in a coordinated way. Well, I think related to this discourse, we have to look at how we set our welfare regime. So basically, our welfare state is public-based. So, but in Italy, as I said, the state is lacking coordination and resources. So it's a regional welfare state. So each region can decide whatever they want in the social protection field. And this is decided by law, constitutional law, so we cannot change that. So each territory have to be free to decide how to arrange the system. And I don't know if I get really your question about how we can subsidize this kind of activities, but I can give you some experiences that I learned. And for instance, there is a region that is one of the most advanced regions that is tackling this active aging challenge. And the framework is very complex. So they use, the regional level use funding coming from Europe, coming from other type of sectors. So actually they created a committee, like really a round table, in which all the people from the stakeholders to the political level to the private sector come, sit together, meet each month, and decide and agree upon a strategy. So each one of them brings experiences, know-how, knowledge, social capital, resources, economic resources. So each one of them can really be a small piece in the puzzle, but all together they created a puzzle. And this culture was developed, I think, 10 years ago, and now it's becoming bigger and more stratified and more rooted. So this can be an example, but this cannot work for all the regional levels, because, for instance, in the south of Italy we have some other issues, and the institutional development is not that high as in the Nordic part of Italy. So again, central state has the major role to understand how to distribute resources and how to create specific guidelines for each type of context. My project on active aging is the first attempt for Italy to really face this challenge. So we start from the basic. We are not very well developed in this topic, from different perspectives, from political perspective, from services perspective and from knowledge. So we don't have a lot of knowledge on that. But we do have some sort of regulations. So all the people that work in the care field has to be trained. And for instance, in this region, the regional political level set each year, in a rolling base anyway, trainings for newcomers that want to work in the field of care, and many of them are migrants. So we try to ensure that everybody has the right to access to a basic set of knowledge, maybe a short training, maybe some learning by doing in the setting, so in the institution. And this is my experience. Of course, if you are looking at home caregivers in a home base, the discourse is different. We go to a gray area in which most of the time there is a black market, so they are not registered, or we go to the family area. So most of the time women take care of older people. And of course for them we are trying to develop some sort of technology, so online support, maybe some websites, or maybe some tutoring online, or just fact questions that they can look it up on Google and try to understand by themselves how to deal with those kind of situations. From a social work perspective, I can say it. The key is the knowledge. So developing knowledge on the field. Knowledge, it means data that are reliable, that makes me, as a professional, understand the situation, having a clear framework of the situation, and then understand the key priorities, where to act. So only by doing this, we can really understand where to put the money and where to put the resources, and how to create a system that is efficient and helpful for people that work every day in the caring setting. So this is the key, having reliable data on the situation. We do not have a clear idea of how many care workers are in each region, because it's a gray area, because they are migrants most of the time. Because if we do know, then we have to legalize their contracts, and this means giving to them social protection as all the other workers.